All right, today is day 201 in the Chronological Bible in a Year, and we are in 2 Chronicles 32 and Isaiah 37, amongst other verses which are listed down below. I'm going to be drawing from primarily 2 Chronicles chapter 32 and Isaiah 37. And things are looking pretty grim back there in Jerusalem. So let's get back with our characters: Hezekiah, Isaiah, and this guy named Raksheba, Rabshakeh. Sorry. Yeah, I know. How do you remember a name like that? You know how there's a point in a lot of movies. There's a villain who's like on the ascendant, and he's about to like rule the world. He's the empire of the universe, and he's just gloating, and he spending all this time doing his little dance and staring off into space and giving a monologue, and there's this point in the audience when the audience sees something that he doesn't see. Well, we're about to see that. So he's dancing, he's gloating, and all hope seems lost for his opponents. And then 2 Chronicles 32:14 happens, and you can relax and settle back into the recliner. The cavalry is on its way. And Isaiah 37 gives us the bulk of the story, and in verses 1 through 3, King Hezekiah prostrates himself before God. And in verse 3, he says to Isaiah, "This is a day of trouble and rebuke and blasphemy. For the children have come forth, but there's no strength to the children have come forth, but there's no strength to bring it forth." Hezekiah is saying, we have spent everything, and we have nothing left. The cupboards are bare. And really, Hezekiah had the raw end of the deal. He comes from a long line of people who abused their role as the king and bowed down to idols and in other ways allied themselves with the world. And so Hezekiah, the last good king of Israel, is just at the end of his rope. So then we see in Isaiah 37:8, the king of Assyria, his servant Rabshakeh, lays siege, lay siege, and in verse 10, Rabshakeh seals his fate, saying, "Do not let your God, in whom you trust, deceive you." Then Hezekiah does the only sensible thing. He hits the send button. He sends up the signal flares. He calls for the cavalry. And verses 14 and 15 are so rich. Hezekiah takes, in verse 14, he takes the letter from the king of Assyria and reads it. The messenger hands it to him. He reads it. You can see him just sort of standing there looking at it. Yeah, okay. Then he goes into the house of the Lord, and he spreads it out for God to see and praise. O Lord of hosts, this is verse 16, O Lord of hosts, God of Israel, who dwells among the cherubim, you are God, you alone. Of all the kingdoms of the earth, you have made heaven and earth. Incline your ear, O God. And then he goes on in verse 17. Hezekiah states the truth behind the lie and the lie behind the truth. The enemy comes to us with things that sound true. They have an element of truth in them, but there is something behind it that's a lie. And Hezekiah repeats, to God, he says in verses 18 and 19, "Truly, the Lord, truly, Lord, the kings of Assyria have laid waste all the nations and their lands, and cast their gods into the fire, for they were not gods, but works of man's hands." He states the obvious. Yes, Assyria has done this, and they've beaten all these kings and nations and gods, these worthless gods of stone and wood. And you'll have to read the rest to find out what actually happens. But you can guess, because our God is a jealous God. He doesn't He doesn't let us just wander lost, crying out to him without any response whatsoever. He waits for the perfect moment to show himself big in our lives. If you're facing a servant, not even the enemy himself, but if you're facing a servant of the enemy, know that the one who is within you is more powerful than the one who is in this world. And go with that today. Be encouraged. Enjoy the beauty of our creation and the beauty of our Creator today. Give acknowledgement to Him first, and in all your ways, you will see His fingerprints on your life. Hit the send button this morning. Pray and ask Him to guide your steps. Take care. Bye.